Hey there, Mr. Redder here. Welcome back to another episode of Reddit Podcast Stories. Our first story we'll be reading today. My wife is demanding I share my work bonus with her. After that, you must work the weekend. And after that, am I the jerk for giving my daughter a list of rules to follow to live with us? Now for every thumbs up this video gets, one Karen runs out of propane. Oh, you're taking this too far, Reddit boy. I need my hot water. So please smash that like button and subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories from Reddit every single day. My wife is demanding I share my work bonus with her. I, 40 male, work full-time while my wife, who's 39, is a stay-at-home mom for our two kids, who are 3 and 7. Since she's become a stay-at-home mom, her parents always give her some money as a present for Christmas. It's about $1,000, sometimes more depending on their financial situation. I receive a similar amount as a Christmas bonus at work, though it varies too. We decided that our respective Christmas cash would be our independent spending money for the year, that it's kept separate from the rest of our finances, which are shared. This year, my in-laws are struggling a bit financially, and as a result, they gave my wife $100 for Christmas. I recently received a promotion, and as a result, my bonus was $1,300 this year. When I told my wife this, she said that we should split the money so that we both have $700 to spend. I refused because our agreement was that we would keep our Christmas money separate and spend it how we choose to. There's usually a small difference, about $100 or $200, between what her parents give her and what I receive as a bonus, but we've never split the money 50-50, so there's no reason to start doing that now that it benefits her. I also brought up how a few years back, my company had a particularly rough year, and as a result, I only got a $100 bonus. That same year, my wife got $1,000 from her parents and did not split it with me, and I didn't expect her to. So if she didn't think we should split the money 50-50 back then, when she had received more, she shouldn't expect me to split it 50-50 now. We've been arguing about this since Christmas, as she brings it up constantly and is causing a lot of tension in our household. Am I the jerk for not splitting my Christmas bonus with her? I don't get this new BS of, we're married but we have separate money. You're supposed to be a family, for goodness sake. Put your money together and create a budget. If you're both that selfish, you never should have gotten married and had kids. You're both the jerks, in my opinion. This is why I would never agree to be a stay-at-home mom. I need my own finances. Everyone sucks here. If one of you gets significantly more spending money than the other, that's not right, and you should share in those years. Saying, well, this is mine, too bad, doesn't show a lot of love or affection for each other. I can't imagine doing this to my spouse. I would feel so bad and guilty because I love him and want to make him happy a lot more than I want all of my spending money. You're the jerk. My ex-husband used to try to pull this crap on me too. He'd get a nice $50,000 bonus at the end of the year and refuse to share it with me. His argument was that he worked 60-hour weeks for most of the year, so that bonus should be his to put into our retirement. All he ever wanted to do was save for retirement and the kids' college funds. I was the one working 24 hours a day by staying home with our two kids, and he only gave me around $4,000 a month to pay all of the bills, and I could do whatever I wanted with the rest. Long story short, I now get half of his retirement plus alimony, and I have a new man who isn't controlling with our money. My new man puts my name on all of his accounts and doesn't care how much I spend. Don't waste your life with a controlling jerk who feels entitled to hog bonuses. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or his wife? Please let us know. If it benefits only me, that's fine, but benefiting only you, that's a no-go. You must work the weekend. I was an IT contractor for a company doing a large new project. There were about 30 people writing code. We were allowed as much overtime as we were willing to work, and I could use the money. I was working 12-hour days, 5 days a week. On the weekends, I would go racing, usually out of state. It was common on Thursday to get called into a meeting saying we needed to work 8 hours Saturday, 4 on Sunday. Most people would have 52 hours in total. I would do it if available, putting me at 72 or 76, since 4 hours is stupid. Other times, I would point out I would already be at 60 and had plans. I was given an exception the first couple times. Then I was told that I was not being a team player. So I clarify. If I work 12 hours between 5 p.m. Friday and 9 a.m. Monday, is that good? Yes. Well, okay then. I left the office at 9 p.m. on Friday, 4 of the 12 down. The race trailer was already loaded up and ready to go. I headed out in the morning for a 4-hour drive. After the race, I headed back. Since I was driving near the office and the parking lot was empty, I pulled in the trailer and all around 3 a.m. I figured just badging in wasn't enough to demonstrate compliance. I sent an email out to the group with every task I completed. I completed everything I had been assigned. There was a whiteboard with unassigned tasks. I sent an email that I was pulling a task, then another when completed. I had my full hours in at 11 a.m. I was being smart about it. However, I didn't really expect the manager to get as annoyed about it as he did. A bit later, my contract was cut by that manager for my abrasive personality. The fallout seems to have been against me, but not in the end. My contract was cut. I was told on a Thursday morning and given the next 3 full weeks' notice. By Thursday afternoon, I had a job interview scheduled for Monday. By Monday afternoon, I had a couple more scheduled. I started a new position with no gap. This is pretty much the malicious compliance. Below is the fallout from the retaliation. The manager blamed the abrasive personality comment on the business. They're the people asking for and defining the project. I only worked with one. During my notice, I was working with her. I said something about someone else having to do the next phase. She says, yeah, that sucks. I then tell her that I was told the business wanted me gone. Since she was the only business I dealt with, I waved goodbye to her. She just got a ticked off look and stormed off. Her anger went up the organization tree and back down my branch. Manager was told, I want OP on this project. Deal with it. I had multiple people, HR, managers, peers, etc., ask me if I wanted to stay. They would have to make the crap hit the fan to do so. They didn't want to do that if I was leaving anyway. I said I already had accepted an offer. I just wished he had to be the one to ask me to stay. He was made to ask me if I could extend the notice period to provide training sessions on my techniques. Me. So you want my productivity, just not me? Well, yeah. No, I'm already scheduled to start a new position. During my notice, 12 people found new positions and gave their notice. The attitude was that if the company was willing to cut me, they could cut anyone at any time. They would rather leave on their terms. This was not a problem for coders at that particular point in time. I was still working 60 hours a week during my notice period. On my last day, when leaving, the only person still there was the manager's boss. When I said bye, he said he had meant to talk to me before I left. I sat down and talked. I said, you must be wondering why I would be working late on my last day. I wanted the section of software I was on to be working before I left, so no one could blame me for it not getting done. I said I was the only one left in the last few months who was still working on it. All tests had passed that day. Another section with similar work had 6 people working on it, and it's not done. He began to question the manager's decision-making. He thanked me and said he may reach out in the future. A couple of months later, someone reached out to me to see if I would come back. The manager's contract was cut, as were the other 3 people from his contract house. An employee who was buddies with the manager was moved off the project. Apparently, since the manager was also a contractor, he could not technically cut my contract. It was done by this employee. I didn't go back, as my new, abrasive personality, manager, and I got along great. Am I the jerk for giving my daughter a list of rules to follow to live with us? My husband, Luke, and I's eldest child, Betty, who's 25, female, moved out last year. When Betty lived with us, there were many tantrums thrown about the house rules. Things like why she couldn't have wild parties at the house, why did she have to load the dishwasher without being paid, or why we bought our son a laptop that he needed for school but wouldn't give her money to go to Coachella. Luke and I explained to Betty that she is not owed fun money from us. We will not pay for her doing chores because she will have to do chores regardless of whose house she lives in. She's an adult, and once she moves out and pays for her own things, housing, utilities, car insurance, gas, groceries, etc., then she can do whatever she wants. Since moving out, Betty has frequently asked us for money because she either can't afford to do something fun with her friends or she doesn't have time to because of work. Luke and I always refuse because vacations and nights out aren't a need, and being an adult means you don't get to hang out with your friends or go do expensive things all the time. We went out to lunch with Betty last week, and she asked to live with us again. Luke and I said that as long as she honored the following stipulations, we were more than happy to let her return home. 1. Pay rent every month, $500 that covers groceries and utilities as well, or be in school. If she chooses to be in school, we will pay for her schooling and any tutors, but she must take her education seriously and earn passing grades. Do a fair share of chores, load and unload the dishwasher, clean the pool, wipe the kitchen counter and stove, and help put away groceries. No wild parties at the house, nothing illegal, and she can't smoke. If she wants to, she has to do it somewhere else. Betty said she refused to agree to these rules, so we told her, okay, that this is her choice to make, and it's also our choice to not allow her to move back in. Betty tried to start an argument, but Luke and I weren't playing along. We told Betty that she's 25 and it's time for her to grow up. She needs to accept now that this is reality and get used to handling her own adult things. My in-laws and a friend of Betty's have reached out to tell Luke and I that we're the jerks. They said that they couldn't believe we were charging Betty rent, let alone asking her to do chores on top of it, because she's our kid and don't we love her? Betty is our kid and we do love her. Nothing will change that. At the same time, Betty's a grown adult. People aren't going to fund and enable her just to have fun all the time, even and especially not us. Luke and I don't understand how multiple people think this is selfish or unreasonable. So I'm looking for neutral perspectives on here. To answer the question of why Betty has this mentality that Luke and I should enable her to have fun all day, Betty's biological father has unfortunately caused her to develop this attitude. He insists that my husband and I should pay for Betty to have fun all day and handle her responsibilities, yet isn't willing to actually do it himself. Not the jerk. These are all entirely reasonable stipulations for an adult kid living at home. My 20-year-old contributes to the rent and bills. Adults pay rent. That's how it is. I'm Betty's age, and I can't imagine the entitlement of not even agreeing to this lenient of requirements as though you're owed no requirements. And the family agreeing? Yikes. How do these people exist and live? Like, what about their life means that these are unreasonable expectations? I'm the same age as this girl, yet I have a mortgage to pay, recently finished school while working and paying that, all while doing chores to maintain my space, which is just part of life. Though I do get to throw wild parties whenever I want, but cleaning up after that is also a horrible chore. Way worse than wiping countertops and unpacking groceries. OP, you're not the jerk for these rules about her moving back in, but I gotta ask, how did she get like this? You seem reasonable. This is nuts from your kid if you raised her as sensibly as you sound. Is some context missing, or did the apple just land on a different continent from the tree somehow? Not the jerk. Coming from someone who lived at my parents' house in my 20s, the rules seem reasonable. Something my parents did was to take rent from me, but once I moved out, all that money was set aside and given back. Got me into the habit of setting that money aside and budgeting. It was nice to have a nest egg and a safety net when I did venture out on my own. If she was able to live on her own and wants to move back for low funds, $500 is super generous. I'm guessing that apartments are at least double, if not triple that, though I don't know the going rate where you are. Last thing I'll say is that it's funny that people are reaching out to criticize, but not stepping up to say she can move in with them with no strings attached. You're the jerk. At the end of the day, this is your daughter, and it sounds like you and your husband are refusing to be actual parents to her. Instead of trying to be so controlling, why not be proactive and show that you understand her? She wants to go to Coachella? Okay, why not let her go? But also you and your husband attend also, to show her that her interests matter to you. She wants to have get-togethers with her friends at the house? Great idea. Now you get to actually meet her friends and know that she's safe. The problem with so many parents these days is that you just want to be controlling and make your kids feel bad. My parents were just like you, which is why I went no contact and have been homeless several times throughout my adult life. I hope you fix your attitude before it causes long-lasting damage to your daughter, who's just trying to find her way in this lonely world. So lonely in this world I am. Day by day, I take it as I can. Love me for who I am, or hate me for who I'm not. So dark and damp, alone here I rot. Somebody's got some issues. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or her daughter? Please let us know. I can't imagine having a Karen for a kid. So glad we don't have any. Am I the jerk for getting my uncle in trouble and causing him to lose money? I left my church recently, and my dad keeps sending church members to my house to save me. Recently, a pair of church volunteers came over to talk with me. They offered assistance with anything I might need. Some of them, I had them help around my farm while we talked. We talked about where they're from. They're volunteering for 2 years from out of country. What they plan on doing when they get home, how's my life going, and why I stopped believing. The next week, one of them called and said they weren't sure if they believed when they left the country, and after our talk, they realized they didn't believe and wanted to return home. The problem was that their volunteer coordinator was holding on to their important documents so they wouldn't get misplaced, and one of the things was his passport. The coordinator said he would only give it back after his 2 years were finished. He asked if I could get it back for him since the coordinator is my uncle. I spoke to my uncle, and he said he knew I was the one who corrupted him and basically told me to kick rocks. I told him I would call the police on him if he didn't give him back the passport, and he said I didn't have the courage to do that. So I called the police, and they redirected me to the Australian embassy. My uncle was fined quite a hefty amount, and they told him that he had 3 days to return the passport or they would start the process to charge him. Word got around his church, and now he's been released from his paid coordinator position. My family are saying I went too far, and that I only did this because he insisted me, and that they knew he would have given the volunteer his documents back. That he has too many physical problems to get another job, and I shouldn't have said anything. I'm starting to think maybe I did the wrong thing here, and I should have tried other avenues before going straight to the police. Am I the jerk? Not the jerk. Not all heroes have capes, and you, sir, are a hero. If your uncle could not get another job, then he should not have been breaking the law by illegally keeping those people's documents. Your uncle's predicament is not your fault. It's his, 100%, and you saved those people who he was treating like this. Not the jerk. You were right to call him out for an illegal act. The passports are property of the issuing nation, so it was wrong for uncle to hold them. Case closed. Am I the jerk for telling my granddaughter to stop referring to her dad's girlfriend as her mom? My son-in-law, David, 44, is getting remarried to Katie, who's 31, female. I'm 64, female, and my granddaughter, who's 14, has been referring to Katie for the past 18 months or so. Her mom, Annie, 32, female, passed away 10 years ago. We've remained close with David for the kids. It hurts to hear her refer to another woman as her mom, as it feels like everyone is just forgetting that Annie existed. It already feels a little like David is replacing Annie with Katie, as they have a similar look. Christmas is always hard. Annie passed in the week leading up to Christmas, and her birthday is at the start of January. This year, we had David, Katie, my 3 grandkids, and Katie's daughter at ours for Christmas. My granddaughter was very excitedly talking about a dance competition that Katie was taking her to this new year. As she was talking, she kept referring to Katie as her mom, and I ended up excusing myself because I felt that I was getting upset, as it should have been Annie doing these things with her, not Katie. Later on after dinner, my granddaughter found me upstairs looking at pictures of Annie. She asked me if everything was okay, as she knew I was upset. I told her that Christmas just makes me a little sad. She replied that I should talk with Mom because Christmas also makes her upset. Katie's mom passed when she was young, on Christmas, I believe. I snapped at her and told her that Katie wasn't her mom and she should stop referring to her as such, as it's disrespectful to her actual mom, Annie. I know I crossed a line snapping at her, but Katie isn't her mom. David, Katie, and all 4 kids left not long after I snapped at her. David has since called me to say that the kids won't be coming around for their weekly dinner for a while as they need space. My granddaughter isn't talking to me at all. My husband thinks I was an idiot for snapping, as I should be happy that our grandkids have a mother figure and that Katie was willing to work at forming such close bonds with all of them. Am I the jerk? Edit. Katie has been to visit this morning after dropping off the kids at school. She apologized for David saying the kids won't be coming to dinner. It was a knee-jerk reaction to finding out I had snapped at my granddaughter. She also apologized for stepping on my toes in regards to boundaries with the kids. She explained that she was 13 when she lost her mom. Her mom had been sick for a long time before she passed, so they knew it was coming, but it still hurt. She had to grow into an adult without a mother figure, and it hurt that she didn't have anyone she could go to about things she couldn't talk to her dad about. As a result, she would latch on to her brother's girlfriends and talk to them about things, but would end up hurt when the girlfriend would eventually leave, and it was like losing her mom again. It was part of the reason for the addiction she had had. When she and David got together, she felt the need to try and be a mother figure to the kids so they could have what she didn't. She didn't want them to end up like she did. When my granddaughter first started calling her mom, Katie was resistant to it because she didn't want to replace Annie, but David made her realize that she wasn't replacing Annie, she was supporting the kids, and that's what Annie would have wanted. Katie asked if I had asked my granddaughter about the necklace she had been given for Christmas. I hadn't. Katie had bought her a locket, and inside was a picture of her as a baby with Annie, so that she could always keep Annie close to her heart, and Annie would always be with her. Katie has said that she will talk to David about the kids coming to dinner, but has said that it might be worth looking into counseling and has offered to take me to bereavement support group that she and David go to. I've said I will go with her and look into counseling as I don't want to lose my grandkids. I'm glad she came to talk to me and that I posted here. I hadn't realized how much grief was still affecting me. I'm glad David has found someone as compassionate as Katie. You're the jerk. Your husband is exactly right. You also should see a therapist about processing your grief, as it does not sound like you've really done that. I'm sorry to say this, but Annie is gone. Statements like, it should have been Annie doing things with her, not Katie, are concerning. Annie passed a long time ago. Sorry, OP, you need some serious help moving on. I'm sure everyone else wishes Annie was still around too, but she's not. She won't ever be. You need some help to move on. Go get it now before you start having to grieve the loss of your granddaughter too when she decides she can't be around her grandmother anymore. You're the jerk. Katie being her mom now doesn't erase Annie having been her mom. She's had 2 moms. That's fine. You are prioritizing the memory of your daughter over the living, breathing humans in your life. You're the jerk. Look, this can't be easy for you and your husband, or David for that matter. Your granddaughter was 4 when Annie passed. How much does she actually remember from that age? How long has Katie been in her life? Is it only 18 months that she's referred to her as mom? Or 18 months since they've known each other? You have every right to be sad and feel what you feel, but don't take it out on your 14-year-old granddaughter who has found someone she can have this beautiful bond with. Annie will never be replaced, but Katie can provide your granddaughter with the love I'm sure Annie would have wanted her to have. Am I the jerk for refusing to get rid of my peanuts, even though my roommate's boyfriend is allergic? I, 21 female, live with Amy, 21 female. We get along fine, but I wouldn't say we're great friends or anything. About 2 weeks ago, Amy started dating this guy, Josh, 20 male. Josh is apparently very allergic to peanuts. Amy says it's okay if he has some exposure to peanut dust or if peanuts are eaten in his proximity, but he'll become very ill and it could be fatal if he eats a peanut. Amy wants to be really careful about peanuts in the house now. I have a big tub of peanuts, maybe 4 inches wide and 5 inches tall. The 2-pound Planters peanuts, if you find them at the grocery store, that I eat often as a snack, and Amy asked me to throw it away. I told her no. I'm happy to purchase a snack besides peanuts when I finish the tub. It's about half eaten. I'll probably finish it in about 2 months. I'm not like married to peanuts or anything, but I'm not going to throw away perfectly good food. I was raised without enough food on the table sometimes, and I absolutely will not waste a bunch of food. I know it's not the biggest deal, but it's a principle thing for me. Now, if it was my roommate who was allergic to peanuts, I would definitely consider it. But my roommate's boyfriend of 2 weeks who does not pay rent here is not a valid reason for me to waste food. I always wipe down the counter after I eat anyways, so I will keep traces of peanuts away from Josh, even though he's okay to come into slight contact with it. If he's concerned about contact with peanuts, he does not have to come over much for the next 2 months. Again, after that, I'll buy a different snack. But until then, I'm going to keep eating my peanuts and cleaning up after I do so. The main reason why I won't give my peanuts to someone else is for those reasons. I feel that given Josh's newness and the fact that he doesn't live here, I have a right to eat peanuts if I want to, and if I already own them. Amy is really angry that I won't get rid of them. I've talked with my friends and they're split. Some say I'm the jerk because he can't help that he's allergic to peanuts, and I'm creating an environment that may make him uncomfortable. My other friends say I'm not the jerk because it's my house. My tub of peanuts is older than Amy and Josh's relationship, and I could get rid of my peanuts only for them to break up. I wanted to get more opinions on this as I don't want to be a major jerk, but I'm okay with slightly inconveniencing Amy for the sake of not wasting food. So, am I the jerk? 1. Her boyfriend just can't eat peanuts. Otherwise, it's not like if he stares at a peanut he'll milt or something, so I don't know what's going on with your roommate's head. 2. He doesn't live there. Therefore, it shouldn't be a problem. Not the jerk. 3. If your roommate is dating someone so stupid that they would eat a peanut-shaped thing from a box that smelled like peanuts and has peanuts written on the outside, I question both of their intelligence. Since he's not a resident and the relationship is so fresh, I'd say not the jerk. They've even admitted it isn't a serious issue, and unless he eats them, he should be fine. I have 2 teens with nut allergies that are similar. As long as they aren't eating them, we're okay. Your roommate is overreacting to this situation. Not the jerk. As you said, he doesn't live there, and it's ridiculous to waste food. I see so many posts on here where a roommate's significant other has an issue with something about the OP, and I always think, can the roommate and significant other not hang out at the significant other's place? So that's my question. Can they not hang out at Josh's place? Am I the jerk for only speaking my mother language in my home and making my son's girlfriend uncomfortable? Some background. I, 41 male, am originally American. I moved to Norway over 2 decades ago for school and met my wife, 38, Mary. We have 3 kids. John, who's 16, we have a 14-year-old daughter and a 13-year-old son. Mary and I both think being at least bilingual is a necessary skill, so we speak English in our home. The kids are free to speak in either English or Norwegian at home, and my wife will speak Norwegian about 50% of the time, but I speak English 99% of the time at home. I do so because it both comes easier to me, and I would hate to get rusty. Plus, it's a nice respite from my work life where I seldom get to speak English. On to the story. A few months ago, John started dating a girl, 16, Hannah, and he introduced her to the family in early December. She's a very sweet girl and has definitely been good for him. She seemed a bit quiet, but I didn't really pay it any mind until last Thursday. Hannah came over for dinner, and about halfway through, John was staring daggers at me. After dinner, Hannah left, and John said he needed to speak to me. He told me that Hannah was too intimidated to speak and has felt excluded since she met me because her English isn't the best. I asked if she was having a hard time understanding me, and if so, I can speak slower and more clearly. He told me that wasn't enough, and I needed to speak Norwegian so that she doesn't feel like an idiot spectator in my presence. For context, both of his siblings still spoke Norwegian, and they were leading most of the discussion alongside Mary. I told my son that this is my home, and I will speak in the language I want. I can accommodate his girlfriend in any other way, but this has been the agreement in our house since he was born. He called me a stubborn jerk and said that this is Norway, people speak Norwegian, and that it was unfair that she should feel like an idiot just because she doesn't speak my mother tongue. Mary chimed in and said that we should give Hannah lessons if it was a big problem, and that she could help him do so. John said that wasn't the point, then stormed off to his room. He hasn't been speaking to me since, and both of his siblings have said I should just speak Norwegian when she's here. My wife is on my side and said he'll get over it eventually, but said if it really bothers me, I should just concede. My coworkers are split on the issue, and so I'm here. Am I the jerk? Edit. English is taught in schools here at a very young age, and from what I have heard from Hannah speaking, she's pretty good, just uncomfortable. Edit 2. I realized I said a decade instead of 2. I moved here when I was 20. Edit 3. I'm extremely surprised by the volume of comments on this post. While I think a lot of commenters here don't understand how common English is here or the general level of proficiency, especially amongst the young, making Hannah uncomfortable is not my goal, and I really do think she's very, very good for and to John. I will apologize to John in the morning and ask if him, Hannah, and I can sit down and talk about how I can make her feel more comfortable visiting our home. Thank you to all of the commenters here, even the ones who called my son a jerk, which he isn't. Just a teenager trying to navigate his first relationship. I'll be going to bed now as it's late, but I'll be reading the comments in the morning in case anyone has some insight. Edit 4. Why did I wake up to so many comments filled with seething rage? The name calling is rather unnecessary. What nerve did I strike in the American psyche that so many would be so angry? I talked with my son this morning, or rather, he talked to me. He told me he was sorry, and I apologized for dismissing him completely. I'm taking him and his girlfriend out for lunch today. Soft, you're the jerk. I get where you're coming from, your home, etc. But you've said she's visited only a few times. A considerate host speaks the most common language for the guests. If you don't want to, fine. But then you'd be an inconsiderate host, and that's a synonym for a jerk. Might I recommend starting out in Norwegian, then when she's more comfortable with you and your family, offer to help her practice her English. No jerks here. I get why Hannah asked, but it's still your home, and this is what you usually do in your home. You don't speak English just to annoy or make her feel left out. You do it because it's your mother tongue and it's your home. I'm also a foreigner living in Norway, and we speak both English and Norwegian in our household. No kids yet though. But I work with kids, and I know that kids nowadays are generally very good in English, and she herself said that she has issues speaking English. Then she can just reply in Norwegian. Not the jerk. My ex-mother-in-law was a native Spanish speaker and would only speak mostly Spanish with her son and his siblings when I was around. I never would have dreamt of telling her to speak English for me. I feel that would have been beyond rude. I even learned a bit of Spanish and could understand a lot of what she was saying. You don't dictate what language someone speaks. You're the jerk. You're deliberately making a guest in your home, your son's girlfriend, feel uncomfortable and excluded. If you're able to speak a language everyone in the room understands, but choose to speak a language someone is not comfortably fluent in, that's just rude. Also, you're encouraging your son to spend less time at home and telling him you don't give a hoot about his relationship or his girlfriend. My goodness, you're the jerk. Have you never had a guest before? Perhaps not. Let me explain. A guest is someone who enters your home to spend time with you. The host typically tries to make the guest feel welcome and at home. A 41-year-old refusing to speak the native language of the country in which he's residing, thereby making a 16-year-old with uncertain English language skills feel uncomfortable, is a bad host, and face it, behaving like a bully. Your comments about the importance of bilingualism are beside the point. I don't think your teenage kids are going to lose their English language skills because you speak Norwegian for a few dinners. You're such a jerk, and your attitude is off the charts. Well, what do you think? Is OP the jerk or not? Please let us know. I speak in Karenese no matter who's at our house. We support our channel by joining as a member today, and we'll give you a shout out in our next video. Or come watch this video next. You won't believe what Karen does in that one.